guys? Welcome back to another Python class, and today we are going to cover everything which we missed last week because we had a break, and I will show you what we have planned for today. So I just want to give you a very quick recap of what we did last time, which is connected to the ETL pipeline. And then we will just question ourselves or ask ourselves what we know actually and what you should practice now, because we arrived at a point where you already can learn a lot of topics by yourself, and I prepared some demo for you how you actually can implement an ETL pipeline from extracting all the data which is based on task number 8, and how you then can load it into a database. In this case, it's Postgres, as you remember, right? So let me just do a quick recap for you here. So last time I told you how I approach a web page if I have to scrape it, right? And in this case, this is just like our community web page, the self-dev community, where you can see all the data, all the information. And then when I go into a community, you can see all the people here, right? Can I make it a little bit bigger maybe? Yeah, you can see that. And what I told you is you need to have some kind of web development understanding. And that's the inspector tool here, or how you want to call this, the developer tools. And that's where you can see all the source code. And then the most important part here actually is the network tab, where you can see all the information which those websites you are visiting get from the server, so they can actually show them in the front end. So if I refresh the page, you can see what's happening here. And that's why you also can see this waterfall of all the I don't know, in this case, the CSS files which are getting loaded. So you can see how long they take. And if I go on all, let's see if you can see all of them. Yeah, you can see how long the web page also needs to do all of that. And wait, let me just turn this off. Yeah. And that's just another additional information. But your task in number 8 was to scrape all the people from this page, right? Or something like that. And then you also had this task to create a JSON or a list of dictionaries where you just understand how dictionaries work and how to enrich the data, right? Afro, I hope you did your homework actually. So that's just a recap what we actually did last time and what we already know. You already know how an ETL pipeline is or consists of. Wait, where can I go? Can I go here? Yeah, so you remember what is it? What page can we take? Yeah, let's take this one again. So just forget this one. So you know, let's pretend that all those different pieces you can see here are different sources where you can get all your data from, right? And this is your Python code and maybe also your database where you then want to implement or load all the data in. So that's why what you need to know is that the ETL pipeline consists of multiple data sources, and you have to collect them in your Python code, and then you have to transform them and load them somewhere so you can store it and other people can work with that, right? And today, that's the most important part actually, is where I'm going to show you how you can use Python and Postgres to do exactly this, because I think you probably know how to do that, but I just want to give you some best practices so you see how I do that and how it would look like if I do that. And for that, I took the number 8 task from somebody. I think it was from Johnny. But yeah, also if you have any questions, guys, just let me know in the chat so I can read that. Yeah, so let me go to Discord quickly. So we actually can check the GitHub repository. So I took this one from Johnny, and it was task number 8. Yeah, I make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, so you know this file where you actually created the dictionary or the list of self-dev members from our web page. because I just skipped the part where I scrape the data. I just take this one. So we just assume we somehow scraped the data already, and we don't have this because we got it from somewhere. Because in the real world, you either have to scrape it yourself, so you have to build a scraper, or you get the data in form of different file formats like a CSV or JSON or another database. I don't know, it could be anything, or just APIs, and then you have to put them together, right? But in this case, we assume we already have some kind of data. And what we want to do is, let's say you have here where's the web page again? So let's say we have this page, and let's say they all are famous people who you need to analyze, and that's why we put them all here. And this is just your what is it called? Pseudocode, your visualization, how you do that. So you have this web page which is called the selfdev.com, like this, and you need to scrape all of those users into your Python code, right? And then you need to transform them somehow. So just pretend this is a cock. Yeah, Blazor. So you just do something on top of that, and then you need to load them into your database, right? So ETL. So this is E, T, and L. And so to do that, I prepared some code for you, which you can see here. And let me do it a little bit bigger, or put it, wait, make it bigger. Oh my God, is it? Oh my God, it's PyCharm again. I have to do it in the settings. So let me go. Font. Appearance. No, it's, where is it? It's general? Oh no, it's here. No, it's not here. Oh my God. Where is it again? Font, editor. Ah, here. Current. Current? What is that? I don't want this. I want this one. How do I activate it? Oh my God. Please. Why is it not working? Oh my God. You can't see that, right?
Enter presentation mode.
What do I have to press? Shit, because I installed Vim, so it took something like that. What is that? Why does it say like this? Oh no, I know why. Because I have this cyberpunk theme. Okay. Oh, perfect. A little bit too big. Okay, let's go to 35. Okay, so I prepared a couple of files, which you can see here, but you can see this is all like the whole playground here. You need to see them actually because I have a lot of different data here. But what you need to know is that I have a main file, which you always need to have, right? And then I have those functions, which you can see here, which makes your whole main file look very clean, right? And what you guys have done so far is that, for example, if I go to my helper functions, which are over here, I think it's a little bit too big still. Let me make it a little bit smaller. Settings. Let's do it to 30, please. Don't be. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Okay, so you see I have a lot of functions here. And what you guys have done is that you probably just put them all above your top level environment here, which is totally fine. But when you have a lot of functions, like what I have here, like I have 1, 2, 3, 6, yeah, 6 functions somehow here. I don't want to have them all over on top of that because it's a little bit confusing, and people who have to work with you, they then forget or they don't know what they are looking at immediately. That's why I just try to modularize it a lot. Okay. And now I just want to show you what I normally do. So the first step is that I always initiate a logger. Okay, I don't know if you already implemented the loggers because for Johnny, I told him he can practice working with loggers already. And for those who don't know what loggers basically are objects which you can create yourself, and they help you to log all your events which you define for yourself. And for that, you can say, okay, if I open a file, you can say print file got opened, right? And then it prints into your terminal here on the bottom somehow, which is fine. But if with a logger, you can also define, for example, a logging file, and this file tracks everything you said you want to track and saves it into your file, and you can look it up every time or anytime. And you also can define, okay, in which function did that happen? At what time did it happen? What is the state of a variable or whatever you want to look at? So you don't have to print your variable or every iteration of your for loop every time to see what's even happening. And with a logger, you just can avoid all of that, and you don't have to print it all the time. And for that, I just created a function, which you can see here on top. And the function is in a module. And remember, the module is like your own Python file, which is collecting all your functions which you want to reuse all the time. And for that, I created a folder here. Maybe if you can see that, it's this folder here. I think it's a little bit too small. I don't know if I can make this bigger. No, I can make it bigger. Oh my God, I just closed it. Okay, I don't want to look how to do that, how to make this bigger. But yeah, you can see the utilities folder here, and in this utilities folder, I have a file which is called getData, and here you also can see I have a file which is called helper PSQL, which is standing for PostgreSQL, right? And you also can just put it into your main folder just like that in your root path. It doesn't matter, but I like to keep everything like very structured. That's why I create a folder which stands for utilities, which basically are your tools which you use to help you doing something, right? And in this case, I imported it and said, okay, from utilities, helper PSQL import init logger. And then you can see here on top, it's called the helper PSQL. And this function is basically doing what I want to have as my logger. So for those who don't know how to do that, you basically just import the logging module here, which is coming with Python by default. So you just have to write import logging, and then you have to give your logging object some parameters. And in this case, you just have to say, okay, logging, you see it's just coming from logging.basicconfig. So it's a function, and then you need to say, okay, the level of your logging, the level means if you want to log a warning, an error, or whatever that is, but that's not so important right now. And this is my format, how I want to print it, but you will see that when I run the logger, okay? Maybe I can do it here and comment this out so you can see what I mean. So when I start this main function here in my main database.py file, it will just go into init logger and then just do this. It will just say logging info and then start of program and logger, which basically is the same like if you would say print, you could just say print like that, okay? So let's see what will happen. I'll just run it, boom. And then you see, this is my print, right? The thing which you always do. So you just print it, okay, fine. I can put variables, whatever you want. But here you can see the logger suddenly is red, so you can see what's happening. And then it says the format was here format. So you don't need to understand how this is built. If you want to use a logger, just use it how you find it on the internet, whatever that is, and you can understand it later. But right now you see how this actually is built. So it tells this is the time, and you can see this is my date and also with my time. So I see when it happened. And if I look at the time right now, it really is, it was this time when I logged it. And then I set the level name, and the level name basically is this. So I say logging.info, and that's why I get the info state here. I also could say, error, and then I run it again. Then you see, oh, boom, it says error, boom. I have an error somehow, but you should add this at a try except block. But in this case, I just had it to show you. So I just keep it like this. I run it again. And then you see it will just print what I said it should print. In this case, it's a start of program and my logger. That's it, nothing more. And I can replace this, it's gone. And if you don't define a log file, the file where you want to have it, I think it's log, it's like this or something, and then you can say log.log or something. I think it's this one. Or file, I don't know, I need to file name, something like this. Yeah, file name, and then it will create this log file actually and writes it inside. So I don't know if that actually works, or you just can look it up. Let me go here. Let's say Python logger log file. So let's see if it actually works. How to log. So this also is a very good page where you can check out all of the information. So you can see the level of logging, log file, logging to a file. So you can see here, yeah, it's exactly like this. So I can define a file name and then it will work like that. But in this case, I don't want this because this is just some demo, but you could do that if you want. So this is the first part. And if I do that init logger, I can use it in every function which I have, and then it will always log everything which I do. So you always know what's happening. And then after that, I need, of course, to connect to the database. So that was just the logger. And then I have a function which is called the PSQL connection test. So this is a function which you always can find on the internet and which works actually like this. Wait, I need to make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, can you see that actually? Wait, I'll close this one a little bit. Ah, here. No, hey, how do I close this? Isn't it not my, oh, it's the structure. Okay. So you can see this is my whole test function, just to test if I successfully connected to Postgres. And to do that, of course, you have to start your Postgres server and maybe have a GUI like pgadmin, which I showed you before, like this one, where you can actually connect to your database and see what's happening. And in this case, I just have this one, and I don't want to go into detail all of that. If you want to understand it in detail, just look up my code. I will create a repository and also now upload all the tasks so you can check all the tasks from one repository instead of Discord. And I will also upload this code so you can see it. But what I basically do is look at this. I say the first thing is logging.info connecting to the Postgres database. So it will just say this. So let's see. And then I have this part where I connect to my database. So I think you remember how to do that. So you need psychopg. That's why psychopg is imported up here. And then you have to connect function, which takes all those parameters or arguments here actually. And then you can create a cursor and then just execute a query. In this case, it's the version. And I want to log the version to see if it actually works. So let's test it. I do this. And then as you can see here, it says start of program, because in my init logger, it says start of program. And then connecting to database. So you see, connecting to Postgres database. So it's exactly what I'm doing. And as you can see, it doesn't even take, like, it's at the same time. So the second, how long it takes is so fast, it's not even visible here because I just have 3 digits after my comma of this time. But yeah, and then I have Postgres database version because I say it here. And then I do or execute it. And then you see, I just fetch my result, and then I log the database info. And then it tells me Postgres 15, because also if you don't know, Postgres just released the version number 15, and this is the information. And then I just close the connection again in my finally block, and then I say database connection close. So that's my test, and I know, okay, it works perfect. Then I just have to copy all of this part here, basically, and put it into another function where I can use it for some data processing. And in this case, I created another function which is called PSQL connection. And as you can see, I also have my doc string here, which basically is just telling me what this function should do, but yeah, it's basically clear, and it doesn't have any parameters, so it doesn't matter. And then I just start by setting the connection to none, so I know if it returns none, it's not working, but actually it's useless. It depends on you how you want to do that, but I see it also in a lot of code. Maybe it's best practice, I don't know, but this is not so necessary. And then you can see it's exactly doing the same thing which I did before. So I'm just connecting here, and it works. And then I return the connection. And that's why you can see here when I comment this out, you can see I use this function, and then I get the connection back. Because the thing is, you don't want to open a new connection every time you want to connect to the database, right? So you just want to connect to the database one time, have the connection open, and do everything you want, and then close it. Instead of opening it, closing it, opening it, closing it. Except if there's a lot of time in between, then you should or can do that. But for that, I created the connection object and return it. And also, here's another thing, guys, the try except block. I don't know if you work with it a lot, but I totally recommend you to do that. And also to check out the different types of exceptions, you know, because normally what you do is you can just write except, exception as error, error, and then I say logging info error, and then it will just print me the error, and it doesn't matter what kind of exception I get. In this case, everything which happens will be logged, and then it's gone. Then I have an error, it stops, whatever that is, right? But in this case, I know, because the only thing which I do here, or the only code I execute is related to PsychoPG, and it's connected to a database. So I only can get an exception which should be around a database error. That's why I set it as PsychoPG database error, and you can look it up, but it's also okay if you do it like this if you don't know, okay? And you also just can leave it like that if you want, but I think you want to keep it a little bit clean, so you just use what is happening here. Okay, just checking in if you guys have any questions. Not good, good, good. No questions so far. Perfect. Okay, I'll just leave it here a little bit. Wait. Okay, so far so good. Did you understand that, guys? Just give me some feedback while I drink. Afro, Blazer, anybody? Okay, I get it. You are nodding. Perfect. Okay, so that's basically what I do first, and then I have the connection. And now you need to remember what you have. You have a connection object, and this connection object is used to create cursors, so you actually can execute or commit or close your whole connection. Or not close it. Actually, you just commit and execute all your SQL commands, right? And in this case, I just created it. And then what I wanted to do is that you guys remember when I go to Johnny's bootcamp, we had this kind of data, right? So we had the self-dev members, and all of them had a name, disco name, reason to code. And your task was to enrich the data and say, okay, I want a new key which is called addiction. Yeah, addicted to. And then you need to give everybody a unique or a different addiction. And then it will probably look like not like this. I don't know. I'll just show you my data. So it's somewhere here, my data. So I also have a different folder just for all my data normally, but in this case I just have the members from the self-dev community, as you can see here. So this is the data. So you see this is what we had before, and then we had the enriched data. So if you can see that, name, Discord, reason to code, improved or got upgraded to addiction. I just changed a couple of keys here as well, because it makes a little bit more sense than to say reason to code, but that's not a big deal. So you can change it however you want. And Discord ID, coding motivation, addiction to Among Us, whatever you want. And this is our data actually. And now imagine we extracted the data from our web page or whatever that is where we are at, and then you created some kind of list or a dictionary and added all your data into that, or you dump them into a CSV file or whatever that is. It doesn't matter, because in the next lesson I will show you different ways how you can store your data to make it a little bit mobile, so you can transfer it without before you actually do something, right? So we will then see how we can work with CSV files, JSON files, or data frames. That's like the most interesting part actually. So that's how it will be, but in this case it's a list, which you can see here on this bracket, of dictionaries, which you can see on those curly brackets, right? So this is the data which I use, which I want to put or load into my database, okay? And remember, let's try to use the right words, because Blazor is here, he likes knowledge and he likes to use the theoretically great or good words, because you put it into your database, that's right, but what you actually do is you load it or you insert it into your database. And so we close this one, so you now see what we have here. You lagging hard. Oh my god, why am I lagging? Is it just for you, Blazor, or is it also for Afro? Afro, am I lagging? Or Johnny, guys, am I lagging? Oh my god, I'm lagging. Okay, let me just stop virtual cam and do it again. Stop. Boom. Okay, let's do this here. Start virtual cam. Okay, am I still lagging? Is it just my voice, or is it also my cam? Yes, a little bit. Is it better now? Hello, we are testing. Am I lagging? Hello, hello. Okay, so what are you writing so much? Is Blazor writing a book again? Oh my lord. The video, then the voice started to lag. Oh, okay, he's writing on his phone. Fine now. Okay, it's fine. Perfect, perfect. Okay. Afro, I guess it's good now. Perfect. Okay, so then guys, I hope it will stay stable. But no worries, we are almost through. Okay, so sorry guys, let's go back to the data actually. So remember, this is now our data which we extracted somehow, or somebody sent the data, and imagine we don't have, I don't know, what is it, 5 objects or 5, yeah, I don't know, rows in your, which you want to have in your database, but you have like millions or something, right? And not just 5. We just pretend we have a couple of more. And now I need to understand how this data looks like. And in this case, it's pretty straightforward because everything is together and we just have 3 or 4 different keys. In this case, it's name, Discord ID, coding, motivation, addiction. So this is a process where you do database design and you have to come up with a schema, and then you have to create a table for this schema, okay? And to do that, you need to understand, okay, what or how should I call my columns? In this case, the keys of your dictionaries should be your columns. So that's pretty straightforward. So you have name, Discord ID, coding, motivation, addiction. And then you need to understand, okay, what kind of data type should they have? And in this case, all of them actually are strings. So that's also straightforward. But sometimes you also have dates or numbers or float. I don't know what you could have. And you need to know that, right? And here's another thing. For example, sometimes here you have hobbies, and maybe we also have favorite food. And then you see this guy only has 4 columns or keys actually, and this guy has 6, right? And then imagine this guy favorite programming language. Then you have Python. And then this is another one which you don't even have before, right? That also could be the case. And then you need also to look at all the data first and scan through it to see, okay, what columns do I have before I before I create the table. So let's imagine you just look into one data set in this case, or like one object of your data, whatever you want to, or whatever you have, I don't know. But let's say this is one row, okay? Because we have a database and we have columns and rows. And let's say this is one row and all of them have 4 columns. And then you're like, oh, okay, we have 4 columns, then we just create 4 columns and that's it, and then we insert all of them. But then you will start your script, and then it will say, oh, your table doesn't have the column favorite food. And then you're like, what is the favorite food? I didn't have that here. So that's why you need to also check through all the data, or of course the best way to do that is to have a script which basically scans through all the columns, or like the keys of your dictionaries, and gets all the unique keys. And then you know this is the list of keys which you have, and then you also can check the values, and then based on that you can create your table. But let's start very simple and say we don't have all of that, and all the data which we have is the same, okay? And that's why we go and create a function which is called create table. Just very simple, very basic, it doesn't matter. And I created this helper Postgres file module which should have this file, and this is here. And as you can see, remember I created this Postgres connection object which is here, and I just pass it to create table. So I know I already have one argument or one parameter for my function which doesn't exist yet, but it does exist because I already created it, right? So I just can scan through it and explain it to you. So I go into my file again, I created create table function, and then of course I have to import it here. That's why you can see it somewhere here. Yeah, exactly, create table. That's why it's here on top, if you can see that. So I imported it. Now I go into the file, create the function, create my doc string, and say what should this function do. And then I create my query which should create this table. Remember, we don't want to do that in pgadmin, so you don't want to go here and then right click on it and say query tool, and then you don't want to say create table right? You want to do it in Python because we want to automate it. We don't want to do that once or something like that. Yes, hello Marvin, you see SQL. I'm just showing the whole process, how I do that when I have some data set already and they have the perfect state, so they are cleaned already, and then I import them into my Python, or like I just load it into Python and then transform them and load them into Postgres database. And in this case, now I have the create table function, and I create a variable which basically consists of my query, which should create the table. And remember how to create a table? You say create table. If not exist means if it doesn't exist, then you create it. But if it exists, don't do it, okay? So in this case, I say, okay, if it doesn't exist, create the members table. And then I have to, of course, say or call and label all the columns. In this case, I have an ID. And remember, when you do that, you don't need to say member name. You also don't need to say member ID, because this is like too much information, because you already know you have a members table. You know, that's why if you go into the members table, you know you will have members. You don't need to call it member again, right? So that's why you also don't call your Logitech mouse. This is my Logitech mouse or something like that, right? So MX Logitech. This is my mouse, for example, this one. And then I don't also add mouse as well, because in the context of tag, you always know that it's a mouse, right? So just to give you some context. And then I just create an ID, and here's the key thing actually, the key point. Because normally you say I have ID, this is my name of the column, and then I define the data type, and then some other information which are related to the column itself, which can make it like the primary key or the foreign key, or I can add the information that this column should never be null, or it should be this value by default, or whatever that is. So you can define all of that, right? And here I defined the data type serial, okay? And serial is like an integer, but instead of saying integer, I say serial, and the oh my god, the advantage I get is that whenever I add a new member into this table, I don't have to say insert into my table and name the ID. I don't have to say, okay, now I add the member number 5000 and this is ID 5000 or whatever that is. And because serial does it for yourself. So it takes the last member and knows at what number you are at, and then just increments it by itself. That's why you don't need to use it, but I will show you when we insert it into the table, okay? And yeah, so I have ID, and then I also set it to primary key because I don't want to have the same ID all over again. So I just want to have 1, 2, 3, and to whatever number I have. But this is not the best practice because you need an ID which also helps you to identify your row later. But this is not the topic today. I just want to show you this part. We can talk about that the next time. Then I have the name, Discord ID, coding motivation, addiction, whatever you have. And then I just give them all the data type var char 255, which means you can put in a string which is 255 characters long. And then I say they are not allowed to be null. So they need to have some kind of value. So that's my create table command actually, okay? And of course, you don't write it just like that. What you do is you go into this what is it, PG admin, you copy this one, and or you just do it here first. And oh my God, it's so big. You just go here, and then you try to create this table. And then I just execute it, and then you see the table. I don't know if you can see that, but it says Krabby. The table returned a successful. What is it? Yeah, it returned successfully after 91 milliseconds. And then I can check here in my tables and refresh it, and then I see the member Sunday. So if that works, then you copy it and put it into your Python. But I don't want this, so I drop table members. So this is how you drop it. So it said drop table. So if I refresh it, it is not here anymore. Or it shouldn't be here. Hello? Drop members? Yeah, now it's gone. You see, I don't know if you can see that if it's too small or not. But yeah. Hello, Adam. Hello, Adam. We are just creating the database. So remember, we created the connection. Now we scanned through our data and understood, okay, what kind of columns do we have? In this case, ID, name, oh my God, Discord coding motivation, and addiction, which you can see exactly like here. It's exactly same, right? Then I go and turn the connection object into a cursor, which you have learned in the previous lessons. And then I execute it, as you can see here. And then I log it again and say, okay, I executed the query, I created the table. I just said it like that. But the better way is to say, or to actually make another query which checks if your table exists. So you could say you want to execute this query again, and then it will say this table exists already, you know? Or you just say, okay, I go here and say cursor execute and say select from members. And then if the table exists, then of course it should return 0, right? Then you know, okay, it has been created. That's what you also could do. But yeah, let's continue. We close the connection and commit all of that, and then we're done, and then the table should have been created. So I will just do that right now because you see my create table doesn't do anything else after that, and if you look closely, you can see again, I have a try except block again, just to catch the error if something happens during my process of creating the table. Because maybe my internet is gone, or the database is, I don't know, disconnected, whatever that is. So let me just run this. Boom. And then let's see what my logging is saying. Started the program, okay. Connecting to process database, okay. Executed query, which is basically this line. So I don't like that actually, but I just wanted to show you how it could look like, so you know something happened, right? And of course you can say on success you should print that. But that's something you can define for yourself, how you want to structure all of that. I just want to show you a way how I do that. So now I go back to here, and you remember I dropped the table before, and now it shouldn't be there anymore, but I refresh, and then boom, members is back. So let me just drop it again. I refresh the table. Hello, it's gone again. Now I execute this again. Boom. Then I check it again, refresh table, boom, you got it, okay? That's the first step of your automation, because now you just have to run your script and it creates it for you, instead of saving this, saving this somewhere and then going back, copy, paste, and run it again, so you create it. And if somebody breaks it, you have to copy it again, go into PG admin, and then create it again. It's a little bit a hassle, you know. That's why we don't want to do that. And here we are to learn how to automate all of your processes. So let's continue. We created the table successfully, and we also said we executed. That's fine. Now we want to actually get all the self-dev members. And remember, they all are stored in this JSON file, which I stored in the path data, or my folder, which is called data here, if you can see that actually. And for that, I need to create a function which I called, hello, get self-dev members. Boom. And I know, okay, in this function, I want to read the file. I want to read it. Can you see my finger? I want to read it, and also use the connection and loop through all the members to see if I actually get all the information, and turn them into a dictionary, because they are listed as a dictionary. And then for each member, I want to take all the different keys which they have, like name, Discord ID, coding motivation, addiction, and split them up into a new, no, I don't want to split them up. I just want to have them so I can split them up into my insert query. But that's what I'm going to show you now, okay? So we have to open it and loop through all the data first. And to do that, I have a new module which is called get data, which also is in my utilities folder, which is called get self-dev member. So if I click here, you see I click on control on my keyboard, control, and then you can see it's getting highlighted, and it will point to my function where it is written. But if you don't have it, it of course won't point you to somewhere. It will just tell you this function doesn't exist. Do you want to create it? And then you can click it, and then it will create a function. Okay. So now I just click on this, and then you see this is already here. But let me close it again, and close this, and close this. Oh no, I leave it open. And then I click on here again, and then it opens a new file or where it is stored already. And then you see the data is here, get self-dev members function. And what does it say? It says, read the members from data self-dev members enrich JSON, and inserts them into the database or table, whatever that is. It's a pretty bad description, but for me, I know what it does. But you should have a little bit more detail, like which table and where the data is coming from or something like that. Or you can write it into README, whatever you want, okay? So remember, this is how you open a file with open the context manager, the path inside this one. And remember, you also can create a config file where you can save this path and then change the config file all the time instead of this one. And then I have the context manager here, and then I just can say open the whole data of this JSON file and load it as a dictionary. In this case, it's a JSON. And then I just call it data, but you can call it whatever you want. In this case, you can call them self-def members or whatever that is. And then I loop through all of them and say, okay, for member in data, and then I say log info, okay, which member did I actually go through or iterate through. And then I should have in my logging processing member, and then I will have long, Isaac, Ash, and so on. And then I just told myself, okay, because I have to do the insert every time, I just create a function which is related to Postgres, so I just put it into the helper module as well. And then I call it here. And this function will get the connection object as well, and of course each member, because if I pass this member to this function, it will have all the information like the name, Discord ID, coding motivation, addiction, right? So that's why I give it to this function every time I do that. And then I check where this function is, or I have to write it actually, so I just go into this file, but I already have written it. And then you can see this is the function in helper PSQL.py, and then I created the same structure like you have seen before. So I have a query which I called Q insert member. The Q always stands for query, so I know it's a query. And then this looks like that. So if you remember, I have the insert into command, and then I want to insert them into this table. Then I call all the columns which I want to insert into, and then of course the values which are structured exactly like this. So this is the usual format how you can insert into a database with the insert command. Okay, and in this case I have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, and then of course I need 4 values as well, which are placeholders like the percentage %s format style. You also can use .format or f-string, but I think this is a little bit or has a little bit more overview, and also it gives you a little bit more of security because of SQL injection, but that's a topic related to security of your database. But we will get to that, like, I don't know, at the end of when we already have a full ETL of a project, okay? But so you know, it will just give you a little bit of more security, because it's harder for the people to change your query. But yeah, let's just continue. And then I create a new cursor based on my connection object again and execute this one. And as you can see, I execute this query, Q insert member, and then I have a tuple here, which consists of all the information of my member, which I have when I loop through each of them. So you see, I say member name, and the first placeholder here in number 1, index 0, is name. The next one is Discord ID, so this is Discord ID. Discord ID comes into this one, and so on. Coding motivation, addiction. So you see coding motivation, addiction. And then I just execute it and commit it, and then it should work. And of course, you catch the error if something happens. And here you also can say, for example, I say error in during, or like during, no, not during. Actually, I prefer to use the function name. So I say error in insert, no, what is it? Insert, what is the function called? Member function. And then I call it like this. And of course, I can do an f string here. Oops, dip, like this. And then of course, I have to go like this. F. So you could say error and insert member function, so you already know exactly where it should be or where it's happening. But yeah, let's see what will happen. So I have all the functions now, and let's see again if my table is empty. Select all from members. Boom. And then you see I have nothing, but the table has been created like I have executed before. So I have ID, name, Discord ID, coding, motivation, addiction, whatever that is, and all the data types here. And now I'll just run it and hope everything will work. So let's see. Boom. Then I go here again. I see I started, I connected, I execute this create table if it doesn't exist. And then I also say, okay, processing member long, Isaac, Ash, Albina, and Tess. And then of course I could say here at the end of my function print, oh no, not print, logging.info, and then I say end of program. But here I don't have it yet, so I have to import it, import logging, and then I run it again. Let's see, wait, let me check this here actually first for you. So I execute it, and now you see all the files or the members have been inserted. And that's how you insert the data from your Python file or whatever that is, or from an API into your Python, and then load it into your database. And now, if I run it again, of course, I will have more people. So let's see. Now you see I said end of program. And now I check it again. And now you see I have 10 people suddenly, because the only identifier, I don't know if you can see that actually. Can you see that, guys? I think it's too small. I don't even know how to change this one. Data output. No, you can't see it, yeah. Let me see, Query Tool Editor. Man, I don't know how to change this. Wait, it is in user language. Oh man, I don't know. Ah shit, I have to make it like this. Okay, I think you can see that now. So I have now inserted all the data, and the issue was that it always tells you, okay, the PK is here, and this is also unique, right? That's why it puts all the data into the database, because it says all the IDs are different. That's why I don't care what name and whatever that is I have. I'll just insert them into that one. But if I say that my primary key, for example, is my name, then I can't insert long again because it already exists. And you always can just have one primary key for not one, but you have one column which is a primary key, and each row is unique. And that's why that would avoid this issue. But in this case then, if another person is called long but has another Discord ID, then you can't do that. Then it will just say, yeah, long already exists in the database, so I can't add you. But it's another long, but he doesn't know that. That's why you could try and set your Discord ID as your primary key, and then it will say, okay, you can't have the same ID anyway, right? It's unique. Like even if you take Blazer's name, Blazer 0001 or whatever that is, or 1000, I don't know. It could be any number. And if I have another Blazer with the same number, it will never be inserted. And that's how you can avoid duplicates in your table. Okay? And yeah, but that's basically it. And our script has been finished. And that's how I would do that if I were you guys. So I left a couple of elements out of this whole example because I don't want to overload you with too much information. And the key point here actually is today the logger as well, and to have your whole code base like modularized and cleaned, right? That's why if you look at my code now, everybody who opens it, they will just see this one. I even can remove this one, okay, it's gone. And then they know, okay, I init the logger, I do a connection, I create a table with the connection, I get the members with the connection, done. But imagine somebody goes into my code and sees all of this, and he's like, man, what is this? Okay, I have to init logger, connection test. Oh, what is this? Why do we have the test and then we have a normal connection? Okay, create table. Then, oh my God, what is this? And so on. So it's a little bit more time consuming to get over that. So you have a wall of text which you don't want somebody to face when they open your code, right? Because your code also is a reflection of your own skills, of your own proactivity, and yeah, it's just a reflection of you, or if you are a good or a great developer slash programmer, okay? So, and that's it for today. Actually, I hope that gave you some more insights how you can do all of that. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments or in the Discord server. And if you haven't joined it yet, just go into the description so you check out our server, which is here, as you can see. No, it's not here because I removed it. But this is basically our server where we also have our weekly class. And yeah, guys, I hope you learned something today. And next week we will continue and work with different file formats so you can upgrade your skills working with different file types and data types. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want, and see you in the next episode. Peace.